So, a couple of weeks ago, I had a very strange happening, which was very exciting and fun for me. So I'm going to give you a little backstory about this new group of beings that I met a couple of weeks ago. And then we're going to invite them to come and channel. They may or may not. That's, of course, up to them. But hopefully they will grace us with their presence. So a couple of weeks ago, I was asleep in bed one night, and I woke up to my hand being lifted up in the air. So I was dead asleep, and then my hand's up in the air, and then my hand is moving. And I think, wow, something is up. So my hand was just flying with these motions, and just flying and flying and flying, and then my hand dropped. So it actually was like my hand was on a string, or somebody or someone was picking my arm up and then dropping it back down. So it was kind of comical. So I'm in the process of waking up to get oriented as to what's going on here. And it was comical because they threw my arm back down, and I just laid there and waited. And then in another minute or so, my hand got picked up again and started going again. So this happened 2 or 3 times. And so as they're moving my hands, my mind, I'm trying to piece together what's going on. I think, okay, there's someone here, someone new, because I've never been communicated before with this in this particular way. And I just was listening with my inner being, because most communication from angels and ETs, and this is important to know, are just gentle thought impressions. They're not big blaring sounds in your ears. They're not full-on movie reels in front of your face. There are people that have that level of vision. I don't, at this point, have that level of vision. And there are people who hear audible sounds, so that does happen. And there are people who see an actual, literal, physical presence in the room. So, so I was listening with my inner being to see if I could get an impression of what they might be saying, and nothing was coming to me. And I was giggling at this point because my hands are just flying like this madness, you know, doing things that I didn't know my fingers could actually do. And so I'm kind of giggling a little bit. I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. I don't sense anything. I can sense a little frustration from somebody. So, so then I'm laughing, and I say in my inner being, hello, whoever you are, I'm really glad you're here. I really don't understand anything that you're saying to me. Is there anything you can do to help me? And then I begin to get the gentle impressions from them of what they were saying. So this hand movement went on for some time, and they were speaking. I began to understand in my thoughts that these are a mammalian race. They called themselves the Bi-Hominids. Later, of course, I looked up on, you know, this is what we do, we Google things. Hominids are actually mammal-like, ape-like species, primates, basically. And during the time that they were moving my hands, they were giving me the impression that they were downloading their language into my system, that they speak with only their fingers and hands, that their entire race are very kinesthetic. They communicate through touch. They communicate through touch and through signing, similar to our sign language. I knew that their fingers are really long and kind of remind me of like a tree frog's fingers. Yeah. That are long and sticky, and I knew that they didn't have any joints in their fingers, and they can do all these. That's why they can do all these wild things with their hands.
Are you seeing them while you're?
Only the fingers.
Okay.
Now I wish I could say that they just appeared in the room with me. they were definitive. I would stake my life on this, that they were in the room with me, because they were literally picking up my hand up and down.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So, and I just let them, you know, have control there and do what they wanted to do. You know, my guess is that they and other beings like Judah have not appeared in physical form yet, because it would be too terrifying. I have had one other visit from an ET before. It was a couple of years ago, and it scared me to death. I just felt them lifting me up off the bed. It was an out-of-body experience. It lasted for a few seconds, and I was so scared they kind of, dropped me. So I don't think that I felt scared because they're scary. I think I felt scared just because it was so unusual and different and unexpected. And I tend to get visited in the middle of the night like that. Yes.
Do you think it was related at all to a couple months ago when you were having a dream and you woke up and you were making something and you threw it out after that?
Good question. Okay, so Lori's referring to another event that happened recently where I woke up and my hands were flying in my sleep, and I was creating something with my hands and throwing it. But my perception of that experience was that I was in like a creator state. So I had entered over into a fully enlightened creator God state for a short amount of time. I don't know how long it was, where I was actually creating some sort of life force energy and then sharing it. But that was experience was coming from my higher self, not from someone else. So let's see, what else did they say? They told me that they were from a galaxy billions of light years away, that we have no way of knowing where that, we have no concept as humans as to where that is or what that's like. And they have a technology that allows them to travel physically and be here in location with me or whoever else that we don't know anything about. I could see that they were to my left. My perception was that they are northwest, whatever that means. Way out there. They're very lighthearted and friendly. Their energy is beautiful. I don't know if they've contacted anyone else. I do know that there's a language barrier. So for several days, occasionally I would start with the hand thing, and I just knew that they were still downloading language into me. And so hopefully I'll begin to understand better as time goes. I don't know. So we're going to invite them to come.
Oh my.
Who sees, we'll see. No pressure. You know, one of the things, I try to always let myself off the hook about things like this, you know, because I'm not a bearded lady in the circus or a flying monkey or anything like that. So I try not to put any performance pressure on myself or these new friends. So we'll see. If they don't come, we'll channel Judah. And so when beings like these come, angels and other high vibrational beings, you will likely feel the energy in the atmosphere, in the room change. You're likely already feeling that. You'll feel yourself just begin to get really elevated. Your cares and worries start to drop away. You might even feel a little bit in a light trance. No one's doing anything to you. This is just you coming up into more of your higher self. Okay. And so, Judah, we thank you for your presence. We invite Archangel Michael and all the beautiful archangels for this time. We invite the Bi-Hominids, and we just give this time for them to express themselves so we can get to know them. We are the Bi-Hominids, and we come from afar. We are using the voice of this vessel because we do not have a verbal language. Our species communicates strictly through touch and sign, through the body. We have a vested interest in this planet because we seeded the primate species on this planet. These are our beloved children, our hybrid children, and we are constantly monitoring their evolutionary process. And so this is a false, erroneous ideology and understanding that humans evolved from apes, as you say. This is a misunderstanding or interpretation of the evolutionary process. But these bipedal, all races of the species of the hominid species have been seeded from our society. But we are enjoying this interaction of speaking through a human vessel at this time. We want to encourage you about the beauty of the evolutionary process, and that there are many, many races throughout the universe and beyond the universe in alternate universes, which lovingly guide and protect and influence you. But as this vessel spoke to you earlier, not at the expense of your own free will, but you are lovingly guided at all times by more resources, civilizations, and beings than you can fathom. Earth is the nursery of divinity and many highly enlightened races. And in this nursery, each one of you is, yes, as this vessel was sharing earlier, like a beloved babe, beloved, precious, born to experiment with the possibilities of life, existence, and all the joys that come with it. And there are many races beyond your imagination who are your mothers and fathers, and they lovingly care for you in spirit and influence your experience, but however, not to your detriment. Many of you we see through reading the thoughts and experiences of this vessel. Many of you ask, why don't angels and ETs help me with this problem, this issue, this struggle, this disease, my sadness and pain? Because you do cry out and ask for our assistance. and we understand that you think of us as being godlike or other than you or separate or higher or better, and many times feel hurt if we do not intervene in some way, but we want you to know that it is the job of a loving parent to determine the difference between guiding, influencing, controlling, and intervening. And so we hope you will grow in your trust that we intervene when it is in your best interest. However, we also trust you in your process and journey, and sometimes withhold the assistance you want or ask for because we want you to develop muscle and strength, wisdom, insight of your own, and some of this wisdom and insight you wish for will not be meaningful to you if we hand it to you directly without your exerting effort in your struggle for it. Wisdom comes in struggle. We look forward to communicating more through this vessel. We are observing and have only loving intention. And one of the reasons we are here in this time is because this vessel wanted to meet extraterrestrial beings, as you say, and had this desire. And for those who have a desire such as this, you can and will and shall be visited in due time. There will be more and more. There is more of these visits happening everywhere in the earth, and they will increase. And as Judah said some time ago, there will even be those who hang flags outside on their front porch, flag pole, with pictures of ETs in order to say ETs are welcome here. For many of the struggles and wars in the earth today are a test and challenge for you to begin to accept, love, heal, forgive one another in the human race. For this will be crucial as ETs begin to appear on the planet, that you have resolved this desire to distance yourself from others who are different than you, who think differently, look differently, walk, talk, act differently than you. For if you can't work these things out with your human family, then what will you do when beings such as ourselves come to see you? We are pleased to meet you. We will leave with that for now. Any sense about their energy?
That's lovely.
Yeah.
Just knocked me out of my chair.
Yeah. It's really beautiful energy. Let's see if there's any thoughts about some of the things they were saying there. Anything you guys want to ask questions about that? Yeah.
Question, when in the beginning you were mentioning how we are protected, what are we protected from?
From our own fears. Yeah, fear is really our enemy. I think I think that one of the things what I was seeing or understanding from what they were sharing is, there's a lot of division still in the human family, and wars and factions and separateness. And so one of the reasons why we really need, things are kind of coming to a head to kind of clear these things up before ETs really begin to come. And I believe that it's my understanding that they come as we're ready to receive them. And we've got a lot of work to do in these factions and separations in order to be ready. But they are going to start physically appearing more and more over the next 2 to 3 years. And when the next 2 to 3 years, I think we'll see them. I think we'll see ships. I think Bashar has talked to us about ships coming and being off the coastline in non-threatening ways and staying for longer periods of time so that we can get used to their presence. When I met Chuck 8 years ago, I thought the whole concept of UFOs and ETs, I just thought it was absolutely ludicrous. I thought it was for nut jobs. And especially because of my Christian background, there was just no frame of reference in my Christian belief system for that. But after having experienced even the visit I had a couple of weeks ago, you could never convince me that there aren't ETs. I know that I know that I know that I know it, and I don't really care if anybody thinks I'm crazy or not. I'm not sure if I answered your question, did I?
You did.
Okay.
So why do they say they're coming now? Do they see that we're in real trouble, that the planet really needs it?
I have never heard that from an ET. I have never heard an ET say that the planet is in trouble and needs to be saved. And I love that you asked that question. And that's some of what we're going to talk about tonight, about predictions and how this particular giftings are used. But I have never heard an ET say that we're in trouble. Yes, sir?
I can answer that question.
Okay, please.
We're relatives. They came here and changed our DNA thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. The Pleiadians did, and others. We're a mixture of all kinds of different species, and they have some of these ETs have a hybrid program where they come and they take women's eggs, but they've okayed it. This was all planned before they incarnated and created a hybrid, a cross between us and them. And they're bringing them up, and eventually they want to bring them to the planet. That's one of the things they want to do. But the other thing is, they want to help us. They want to help us. We have to ask for help, but they want to help us. And they're more willing, when we're ready, to come and give us free energy to heal all disease and do all that. Now, they can't come tomorrow and heal all disease, or the country will go bankrupt. There's certain things they can't do immediately. So when we get to a certain level of consciousness, then they will start to come and make themselves known, and they will help us. Now, they won't do the work for us, but they will help us, and to understand who we are, mostly, and to also understand our power, and to see, we're one of the the only one that some of these ETs know about that have duality. All these different ones that she talks about, Judah and all, they're all collectives. And the Pleiadians, they're all collectives. So they all think as one. And so we have duality here. And that's one of the things that's one of the reasons why there's so many different ETs are watching us and trying to help us, because this is very strange. And the other thing is, it's very rare for ETs to have the kind of emotions that we have. And so they're very interested in that.
How we navigate emotion and how we navigate good, evil, right, wrong,
Freedom of choice.
But the thing
free
is,
will.
there are dark energies in the universe. There have been Star Wars kinds of things that have happened in the universe. So they believe if on this planet we can get it together and become a loving people, then it can happen anywhere. And so that they say that this is the most what happens here evidently will affect the whole universe. And so it will help raise the consciousness and everything of the whole universe, and also teach that, you know, that okay, if they can do it. And the other thing is, this planet is the fastest way to grow spiritually. When you choose to come here, you know, it's like they think we're unbelievable that we would actually incarnate here and go through this. They can't believe it, you know. They say this is the fastest way to grow spiritually, to be on this planet. And so that's interesting to them too.
Thank you.
He had a question.
Yeah, before we go there, I'll just say, I try to limit what I say personally to my direct experience. And then if it's not my direct experience, I'll preface it by saying I think, or it's my perspective or opinion. Yeah, but before you share, Ken, I just wanted to share one of the things I saw when they were channeling just now. I saw a hospital nursery. You ever seen one of those old-fashioned hospital nurseries where there's all the babies are lined up in the... And I saw them like looking through the window at all the babies. And so what my perception of that is that these many races, the Arcturians, the Andromedans, the Bi-Hominids, you know, the Greys, there are many, many of these races who have seeded themselves into the planet, and they are lovingly, you know, watching to see how we're doing and how we're, so they're very parental in that way. So I thought that was a really sweet image, and I just wanted to share that.
So let me just say that one of the things is that there's something called a knowing, when you just know something, okay? All that information is out there, and there's some way to contact it, but there's just something that all of a sudden you know. And that's what I speak from, a knowing that I have. If you guys know about the 100 monkeys, you know about the 100 monkeys story?
No, you should tell that.
So after World War II, Japan started to study all, they have lots and lots of islands that have monkeys on them, but the monkeys can't contact the other monkeys on the other islands. So they were studying them to see about how they grew and changed. And so there was, I'm not sure, there was some fruit, I think it might have been avocados, but I'm not 100% sure, that would fall from trees. And when it fell in the sand, the monkeys wouldn't touch it, but they'd climb up a tree and get one. And then one day, this baby monkey went over, picked one up out of the sand, went over to the ocean and washed it. So then the family started doing that, and then the whole island started doing that. And the very exact same moment, every monkey on every one of those islands started to do that.
Oh my Lord.
So there's something called a knowing, and when that happens, it's just, you just know. It's, you know, it's hard to explain, but you just know that it's true, and that's different because there are other ways. And usually I say, well, if you haven't experienced it, then don't talk about it. But since I experienced the knowing, I know that there are ways of knowing things without having experienced it.
I totally agree with that one.
And this is a great story, an example of consciousness. You know, the consciousness of those primates, the one monkey broke through, the little baby broke through into this revelation, oh, I can wash this fruit off and eat it. And it he broke through that glass ceiling, so to speak, and that became available in consciousness for all of those primates, that this was a possibility. And so that's what each of you is doing in your own way. You're like that little baby monkey that finds a new way to access something you want and need. I mean, as you do your own internal work, you're changing the nature of consciousness. People say all the time, well, what am I supposed to do? You know, because especially in America, I can't speak for other countries, but we think that anything new that we understand or obtain, we should use it should equal something. We should use it to make a business or teach a class, or, you know, we think that whatever we know and understand must have an outcome. It must equal something. But that's not really true. The truth is, whatever you master in your own inner being, like that little monkey, whatever you learn, whatever you realize, whatever you understand, whatever's a breakthrough for you, it impacts the whole collective consciousness. This is why I keep saying we are the Judah family. I began to say it long before it was ever true. And now it is a reality that you guys love, support, reparent each other. We've even had members of our online family that have become homeless. Other members of the online family have literally taken them in. I mean, we are becoming a living, breathing family, not just a family, but a consciousness. I work with another group of healers, and Chuck said, well, you don't really need to work with them because you know that. I'm like, yeah, I know that. But this group of healers, they have a growing consciousness that's powerful. I feel it. When I get on the calls with them, I feel the power of their healing. So whoever you choose to join yourself to, then you can expand in that consciousness. Go ahead, Kent.
And just let me say one thing real quick.
Sorry.
And so it's well known that somebody dreams up something, some new invention, that they go get it patented immediately, because people all over the world will have the same thing. And the same thing with with a certain tune or music or something, the same thing happens. Mm-hmm. And great artists will say, it just came to me. They'll say my best songs just came right through me. It didn't mm-hmm. take anything. So they're just picking up, they're manifesting God is what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Kent.
So Chuck had a really wide-ranging and complex explanation when you asked about whether or not the extraterrestrials were in fear for our planet. According to Bashar, if you believe Bashar and if you understand Bashar, he said exactly the opposite. And this was a very hopeful and loving message. He said that the consciousness of our planet is raising enough that first contact is now getting more and more possible, which is why, just as Anjie and the Bi-Hominids said, they're expecting more and more visible evidence of extraterrestrials on our planet. So it's not anything to do with fear. It's not anything to do with negative or heavy emotion at all. It's actually a really encouraging sign. Okay. Now, my one question, and this is kind of selfish, and you don't have to answer it tonight. At some point when you're working with the Bi-Hominids, I'm just dying to know what they thought when the Anunnaki and these other civilizations came down and monkeyed with the DNA of all these hominids on Earth and created this. Mm. So I would love to know at some point in the future what the Bi-Hominids think, like, hey, we seeded the planet, this is what we started, now you guys are messing with the formula. So it's just, that would be a wonderful thing.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I think, did I understand you to say the opposite of what I said?
No.
Oh.
I was saying, no, she asked, were the extraterrestrials in fear for us?
Oh, in fear.
And what I was saying
is,
Bashar's message is quite the opposite.
No, right.
It is a very hopeful message, right, because he's saying that the consciousness of the planet is raising at such a speed and getting high enough that it's making first contact.
And that's a great point, and that's something that everybody needs to understand. And R.J. Sapino talked about this, is that when you go on the internet, you'll constantly see, oh, on November the 15th, this is gonna happen. You know, there's gonna be a flare up, and there's gonna be 3 dark days and all this stuff. And it's all just fear and fear. And no truly enlightened person is gonna say anything about fear like that. They're not. And so RJ was saying something about part of the spiritual community is way off track and creating all this fear and everything. And no enlightened being is going to talk that way. They're not. And what we're doing is there's really only two emotions. That's love and fear, really. And fear kills love, and love transforms fear. And how we're being controlled by the powers that be is by giving us fear, and that's all the news is and everything. And it's kind of filtered into some of the spiritual community, because you go on the internet and you start looking. I can remember there was like, okay, November the 14th was going to be, this was going to happen, and then it didn't, and then November the 15th, and it's just like, I don't know if these are planted information that somebody's putting out there on purpose, or whoever they're channeling or whatever, is just preventing more fear. But no, there's no fear. We're all going to get there. We're all going to get there. We all have a different time. Some get there sooner than others, but we're all going to get there. And so there's no hurry, and we're doing fine.
Yeah, go ahead, sweetie.
Oh, I just wanted to ask, with the Bi-Hominid channeling, they said that they had to be careful because they wanted to, decipher if they were guiding us, influencing, controlling, or intervening. And the statement after came that because wisdom comes through struggle. And I was just wondering, is that the only way, the best way, one of the ways, or can someone just be connected, enlightened enough to understand or receive wisdom without having to struggle?
That's a great question. So, and if it's, I want to answer that. Okay, so what Judah has taught us is that struggle is not the best way to encounter or not the preferred way to encounter wisdom. But for some people like myself that are particularly hard-headed, it takes some struggle, but it's not, doesn't have to be part of the equation. Suffering is definitely optional. So the human experience entails pain for all of us, but whether or not we continue to suffer is a choice, basically. So what Judah's taught us is that vicarious learning is the primary way to derive wisdom that's pain-free, which is why we even do what we're doing at the Judah channel at all. So vicarious learning is when you watch and listen to another person's experience and you take away wisdom from their experience so that you don't have to encounter their struggle. And I often share the story of my daughter, the youngest. She watched my son and my older daughter make a lot of mistakes as teenagers. She was still a young, not even a tween yet. And she saw them do a lot of crazy things, a lot of stupid things. And she just decided in her own inner being she wasn't going to do that stuff. And she didn't. So this is what vicarious learning is. It's where you watch other people, you listen to their stories, their struggles, and you take away wisdom from that and you own it, embody it as your own so that you don't have to go through those struggles. And that's really the only benefit or to telling a story. Like when I tell my personal story now, I'm not telling it because I'm still processing or in pain over it. I tell it so that you can take away information from it and bypass that suffering.
I have a different viewpoint about struggle. Struggle, I think, sometimes is used by our higher self or our soul to tell us we're off track. It's like when you're in the flow, when you're doing what you need to be doing, there is no struggle. I mean, it just happens. It's synchronicity. And so that's one way of knowing. Like what I started doing a long time ago was when I started to go down a certain path, if things weren't happening smoothly, if I met any resistance, I said, okay, that's not for me. And so that's the way, and I like to look at it as like a challenge. Okay, what's the challenge in this struggle? What am I to learn from this struggle? And Ram Dass called it grist for the mill. It's just grist for the mill. That's all it is. We don't take it seriously, and we look and see, okay, the other thing is if we create our own reality, if we truly create our own reality, which I believe we do, then we have to look and say, okay, why did I create this struggle? What am I supposed to learn? So,
Yeah, so
We lost
struggle.
it.
well, I've got a story. Okay.
I'm going to turn the camera on you. Yeah.
You can do it.
Okay. So this is the God's honest truth, and I've told a couple people, but I've never. So I used to rent this room out to a massage therapist, and in the lease was every Tuesday night at 8 she would give me a 2-hour massage, and I gave her a break on her lease. So one Tuesday I'm downstairs and I'm changing in the sweats in order to come up and get my massage, and then that one bathroom there's a mirror about this high right between the two different storage compartments, and I took off my shirt. And there was a half of a basketball coming out of my side. Really big, coming out of my side. It's swollen up. I don't know what it was. It wasn't red or anything. It was just like, some reason I didn't panic. I don't know why. And I looked at it and I thought, okay, what are my options? I can go to the hospital and I can wait for hours and hours, and I can have some doctor tell me something and they say, well, they don't know, go see an expert or something. Or I can go upstairs and get my massage. I said, I'll take the massage. So I went up and I told her, I said, look, I got a tummy ache, so stay away from this area, because she would have flipped out for sure. And so I never decided not to see about it, but I just never did. I just took it one moment at a time. So if you saw the movie with Tom Hanks, he was on the island, and he had the basketball or the soccer ball called Wilson. My middle name is Wilson, so I called it Wilson. So I swear to God, I would wake up in the morning and I would go, "Good morning, Wilson. What are you here to tell me? What are you going to teach me today?" This is God's own truth. One day, I don't know, about 3 months later, I wake up and I go, "Wilson, you're gone. Wilson, where'd you go?" And it was gone and never came back. And that was probably a good 10, 15 years ago.
Oh my God. How long was Wilson with you?
About, I don't remember for sure, but it was at least 3 months.
Did you ever figure out why you created that?
Yeah, you know, I can't believe you asked me that, but about a year or two ago, I told somebody this story, and then I thought, you know, I usually try and figure out why I do things, but I never figured out why I did that. And so then, I can't remember if it came to me in a dream or if I meditated or it was just a knowing. What it was I was constantly telling my patients that it is possible to heal from anything, that we can heal. And because one of the problems with patients healing was they would come and they were told by a doctor, you're going to be on drugs the rest of your life. You can't heal this. And so if I want them to get healed, I've got to convince them that they can be healed. And that's the psychological part of it, just talking to them like that. So what came to me was, here I am telling people that can happen, and that has not been my experience, because I've been healthy all my life. And that was my experience, that yes, you can heal.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Yep. And then we're going to get back to the...
Just a simple way to think about struggle is you don't test the skill of a sailor when the seas are calm. You test the skill of a sailor when the storms come in. And a lot of times, as Chuck was saying, we set up our own blueprint for certain struggles to come along, and our team may also set up certain struggles so they can see if you respond the same way that you did before, or whether you've grown enough to deal with it in a new way, a better way.
Okay, so I had a few notes here. You guys doing okay so far?
Yeah.
I wanted to do some spiritual housekeeping, I'm going to call it. Now, some of you here, some of our local crowd, are not as tied into the internet world of the spiritual subculture that the rest of us are. And so you may not relate to some of the things I'm sharing, but I do want to address some things. I want to share some personal things about what it's like for me to work in this subculture of this psychic, new age, spiritual community. For me, there are at times, there's pressure to give predictions or to have Judah or other entities that I channel to give predictions about the future. And there is a perception because of in this field that channelers should give predictions and the predictions should be accurate. And also there's a perception, there's a whole subculture of people who schedule appointments with people like myself to get information from angels and from ETs to direct their life, to direct their choices, their relationships, their business endeavors, and so on. So there is, you guys may not be aware of this, but there is a whole group of people on the planet that don't go to psychologists and therapists. They call up readers like myself, and they get information through a reader to guide their life. So there are many people who book appointments with me who have been on that track of looking for outside assistance from psychic persons such as myself through appointments like that. So I'm just going to address some things here that I encounter just to lay some groundwork of understanding for people listening. Now, some of the interviewers I work with on podcasts, they will ask me specific questions looking for information about future events, looking for a specific prediction about the future. Sometimes they ask specific questions of me because they want Judah to confirm or disavow or discount, negate things that other spiritual readers and channelers have pronounced. Okay, so maybe they've interviewed a channeler who said there's going to be 3 days of darkness over the earth. Well, they want to ask me, they want to hear what Judah has to say about that. And on that topic, I will say Judah has never, ever, ever said to me that there's going to be 3 days of darkness on the earth. And neither has any other being that I've spoken with. Sometimes also, this is not, I'm not saying this with any judgment at all. There are other podcasters who ask certain questions because they are sifting and searching for something juicy, something sparkly, something eye-catching to get people's attention to stop and watch the interview because there's certain topics that they know are hot topics. I don't think they mean any harm by it. They're just, that's their business, that's what they do, and so on. So RJ Spina, who Chuck and I listen to a lot, and if you hang around with us, you know that we don't throw out names unless we're absolutely certain that we trust their information. We're not saying they're perfect. We're just saying this is a person whose collective of teaching or insight we feel is valuable for the Judah family. RJ Spina would be one of those. He has been talking lately about some of the topics that I'm going to address tonight, so I'm just sharing my experience with it. He has said, that no authentic channeler with a pure connection to source is speaking about doom and gloom. And I would say that for me personally, that has been my experience. I have never heard Judah say anything that made me feel afraid or concerned about our future. Never, ever. So I'm sharing some things here to help us to get in more alignment. When we constantly put out these types of media, what's happening is the spiritual community in media is tending, not all of it, but some of it, a lot of it is tending towards this having inflated, eccentric, exaggerated topics of information to get your attention. Yeah. And it's a reality that we're dealing with now, clickbait type things to get people to stop and look and listen. But if we focus on these things, we are creating belief systems. And as we said in the very beginning tonight, we're not here to give you a new belief system. We don't want you to trade in your Christian belief system or your Hebraic or Muslim or Islamic belief system for a New Age belief system. That's not what we're here to do. So, but when these certain topics are reinforced continually in spiritual media, they can become a belief system, right? You might believe that you have to have crystals in order to feel safe or protected, or you have to burn sage when some negative person has been in your environment. These are belief systems that we can inherit. Maybe they're correct, maybe they're not. But there is, fear sells. Fear sells. And there is a whole culture of fear porn in the media. I took some time a couple of weeks ago to check out the #1 show in Netflix. Please don't watch it, okay? Don't. But I took some time to dig into this #1. What is the #1 show in the world that people are watching right now? I can tell you it was full of fear, everything in it. Abandonment, destruction, addiction, junkies, rape, threat. I mean, being publicly shamed. I mean, it was nothing but fear from the first moment to the last moment. It was only fear. And this is what the world is addicted to, these fear chemicals. Did you want to?
No, you just hit on it. And wanting to know the future comes from a place of fear. There's no other reason you want to know the future, and is to try and make yourself safe. But yeah, people get addicted to when you release when you have an emotion, you release a chemical related to that emotion. And if you do it enough, you become addicted to that chemical. That's why we all know somebody who gets angry all the time. Always getting angry. And they'll come and tell you a story, and you say, well, if you're going to talk to John, he's going to make you angry, so why do you do it? Because they do it so that they can feel that chemical. And the other thing about the fear stuff is some people on this planet are so dead emotionally that they want to feel alive.
Yeah,
and they will feel fear in order just to feel alive.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, my understanding through my work with Judah and from the other things that I read and study is that when you sit and you watch something like that, consciously, this is just television, this is fiction. But your body does not know that. Your body reads that fear as real. When you're watching a gory rape or murder, your body is experiencing that as a real event, and it is storing the detriment of that in your physical body. Now, we have a dear one here, and I won't point them out, who understands what real fear is because of their profession. We have heroes in this world who are on battlefields, who are doing undercover detective work. They are fighting organized crime and other things like that. They know what real fear is, right? But why do we have the need to imbibe this kind of stuff and be entertained by it? It's exactly what Chuck says. It's an addiction, and we do it because it helps us to feel alive when our emotions are so deadened and repressed. So in the spiritual media of culture, we have to be careful not to get on this bandwagon of fear porn. You know, if I looked through a bunch of titles this week just to see, am I exaggerating this point? But I read a lot of the titles, and they are things like fake awakenings, fake awakening epidemic, the end is near, the shift is coming. Well, what shift is that? Well, let me tell you what the shift is. The shift is you being here, shifting in your inner being, your own thoughts and feelings and perspectives. There should be a shift all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time, shifting into higher levels of consciousness. I mean, so if we have this belief system now, because we've heard it a million times, there's a shift coming, that we're waiting for something. Well, don't wait for anything. Don't wait for anything. Create your own reality. So we have to be careful that we don't subconsciously just adopt these new belief systems just because they're out there. Like, I've been asked several questions about soul traps. Soul traps. This is like a thing everybody talks about. And it's this fearful based belief that when you die, some entity is going to hijack your soul and force you to reincarnate. Well, I'm sorry, but that's bullshit. I don't know where this idea got started or who started it, but it is absolutely untrue. The only reason that might happen to you is because you believe that that might happen to you. If you believe that kind of stuff, you are setting yourself up to attract it. Fear attracts more fear. Love attracts love. Dogs have puppies. Cats have kittens. Ducks have goslings. Fear begets fear. You can't extract something good from something like that. So fear cells, we're addicted to it. Why do we want, many times then, just bringing it down to a more personal level, when I'm working with you guys in personal sessions, I hear people say, can you tell me the timeline for this? When is this going to happen for me? This positive thing that you want, or some other prediction. The reason we want to hear Judah or somebody talk about that is because you think Judah knows more than you do. Do they? Maybe, yeah. But you don't trust yourself. That's what that's pointing to. You don't trust yourself. Why don't we trust ourselves?
We need to make sure that we don't give the impression that fear is a negative thing. Fear is not a negative thing. If you're standing at the Grand Canyon and you start to lean over the edge, you should feel some fear. It's only when it's out of balance. No emotion is negative. It's only when it gets out of balance that it becomes negative.
Good point. So when you guys ask for predictions, there are times Judah gives predictions. I will talk about that. But when the questions are arising about the future or about wanting to hear something, please go ahead and ask. I don't mind. I'm not saying all of this to shut you down, to ask a question. But knowing that Judah hears the question underneath the question. And when we need to know something about the future, it's because we feel uncomfortable inside. We feel disturbed inside. We're upset about something inside. We ask about the future because we're ill at ease. The ego mind's job, as Chuck said, the job of the ego mind is to scan the environment for threat, for real danger. And we need that part of us, that aspect of us. The problem is we live in a culture that's so inundated with this extra fear that we don't need in the media and so on. And we're so stressed and overwhelmed that we can stay in a fight or flight state. And the ego mind's job is to scan the environment for danger and use the information that it gathers to protect you from harm. Yeah. The ego mind wants reassurance all the time. So when we're asking for a prediction, it's because we want to be reassured so we can lay our fears to rest. The ego mind wants to be assured that it's not going to lose control, And so it will ask Judah and other psychics and people for future information so it can manage or control what's going on in order to feel safe. And the future can never be fully accurately predicted because in the moment that you give attention to even what's being said, it's altering the consciousness. Even as I'm talking, your consciousness is changing. You will walk out of here as a different person than the person that came in. And the reason that I do not want to give, I slip every now and then, I do, and I'll say something Judah shared, but I'm the gatekeeper in the sense that, I mean, there are a lot of things that I just put them out there. I let Judah say what they say, and I let it be. And I don't pick it back up again. I don't try to explain it, justify it, defend it, argue for it. I just leave it as it is. But there are some things Judah shares with me that I don't share in public because I don't want to give attention to it and thereby grow it. So I want to give a couple of examples of this. The future can never be accurately predicted because even in the giving of attention to the possibility of a future event, future possibilities and future timelines are altered. So in the 80s, there was a very tragic earthquake in Mexico City. If you take the course with us, the news article is actually in the course. There were over 500 people that died. It was very tragic. I'm not going to remember all the details, but you can find it online. Then 32 years later in 2017, on the exact anniversary of the original earthquake in Mexico City, the city was gathering to do earthquake drills to prepare for future potentials of earthquakes. They were having memorial services for all the people that had died 32 years before. The whole city was focused on the tragedy 32 years before. Guess what happened?
They manifested.
There was another earthquake that day, and many hundreds more people died. So people called it demonic or voodoo, or they were scared to death. They didn't know what was going on. Well, I can tell you what was going on. The whole city was putting their thoughts, their attention, their energy into thinking about earthquakes, and they manifested another one. So we hear this all the time. What you give your time, energy, attention to, you will create more of it. And this is why we need to stop. When we see a spiritual video that says something to frighten you, turn it off. Don't listen to it. Now, here's another sad thing just to make you aware of that's happening. Sometimes I do an interview with someone and they will pick one select thing out and pull it out and do the thumbnail for it and the title, and then I'll see it and my heart will just sink because it's something, it is not what the gist of the interview was about. It does not represent what Judah is saying. It's putting a totally wrong spin on it, and it breaks my heart. And this happened to me recently, an interview that I did, and they posted it as a prediction, and I saw the comments below. The person was saying, I'm so tired of these channelers predicting the future. And I felt like saying, yeah, right, amen, brother. And I'm really sad that you didn't get to listen to the interview, is what I was thinking, because it was nothing, the interview was nothing about what it was portrayed or presented to be about. So just to make you aware of that as well. When we focus on negative potentials, we will create them. Another common thing that's said that I believe is become a belief system in spiritual circles is that the economy needs to crash. The medical system needs to come to nothing. The economy needs to crash. It needs to crash so it can be rebuilt in a different, more conscious way. Personally, I don't believe that. I work with, in the Judah family, some really talented, very high conscious bankers I'm so thankful for them. I mean, that's what I want. I want to people like that to be in every realm of business in this nation. Last year, Chuck and I, the universe brought us a beautiful banker, and we were able to make 24% on all of our investments, return on our investments in an election year. Maybe other people are doing that too. If they are, I haven't heard of it. I think that's pretty freaking amazing. So we want to bless people. Yes, do we want things to change? Yes, sure we do. Does everything have to be doom and gloom and collapse and terror for it to change? No. Do we have to have solar flares and have our power turned out all over the world and everybody freak out and be terrified for change to happen? No, I don't think so. So that's just my little soapbox for tonight. So if you see something negative about a future potential, weigh it carefully what you see. Think about if it's something you want to share or not. A better approach, I think, is to meditate on things you see that are not what you want. Pray for mercy. Yeah, pray for God's will to be done. We can allow everything. We can allow everything because we trust that there is a source that is greater than us, that's not asleep. Judah often says, the stars are being held into place. The planet is turning on its axis. The earth hasn't fallen from the sky into an abyss. The sun still shines every day. There is a divine intelligence, source, God, creator, who is keeping all these moving parts in perfect harmony, and even the chaos. Even the chaos is part of it all. So I think as awakened people, it's time for us to take pressure off of psychically, prophetically gifted people. They are people. They are not perfect. They do their best to be clear, communicative channels. If you are receiving a prophetic or predictive spiritual information from somebody whose personal level of consciousness is fear, that channel is going to be laden with fear. You understand that every channel or every person has their own specific level of consciousness, and they will channel from that level of consciousness. This is why it is of the utmost importance, if people are setting themselves up as a spiritual teacher, that they are doing their own personal internal work of surrender, of purifying their inner being, of healing their experience. On accuracy, Edgar Cayce, the most famous prophet psychic of our time in modern history, his readings were 85% accurate. I think that's pretty amazing. So does he have to be 100% accurate? I don't think so. That's just my opinion. Now, does Judah make predictions? Sometimes. Sometimes. And when I hear them do it, I'm like, are you sure, Judah? Like, I was working recently with a young couple who's tragically both of their adult sons are drug addicted, and they've already lost one of their sons to addiction. They buried one son. They have another son coming home from rehab. And I heard Judah say very plainly, tell them there's going to be a relapse. And I said, oh no, Judah, I don't want to tell them that their son's going to relapse. But I knew, because I love and trust Judah, that Judah wanted them to know that, so they would be prepared. And that was a loving thing Judah was doing by saying, there's going to be a relapse, be prepared. So does that mean it absolutely has to happen? No. They can create something different. The sun can create something different. we can't have it both ways, guys. We can't believe this, that we create our own reality, and also want psychics and angels and ETs to tell us what our future is going to be. Either you're creating your future or you're not. We are creating our future. So Judah and other beings are only there to confirm to you what you already feel in your gut. Know, as Chuck was saying, know in your own being to be true. And in the doing of that, it can give you courage to keep moving forward. So it is of benefit. I even love to hear from others. Sometimes I can't hear so clearly for myself. But either we create our own reality or we don't. We're creating what we want, or we're just helpless victims of whatever tragic solar flares or 3 days of this or that is going to happen. So we have to decide, do we believe that we are collectively creating our reality and individually or not? And then if we believe that, if we really believe that, then it behooves us to take our attention away from anything that's not what we want. No matter who's saying it. If I'm saying it, Chuck's saying it, the most enlightened person we know is saying it. But if it's not what we want, we don't have to give our assent to that or our attention to it. I had a dream in my 20s, I guess it was, that I saw a newspaper, and on the newspaper was a banner headline, "Princess Di is dead." And I woke up and I thought, what was that about? This was years before Princess Di died. So unfortunately, I didn't have the wisdom necessarily to know what to do with that kind of information. This is why we are so determined here in the Judah family to teach wisdom. Because people with psychic, spiritual, prophetic gifts that aren't wise are dangerous. That's all. But so what I want you guys to know is that all of you have the apparatus in your physical body, the way you were designed by God to be psychic, to be spiritual, to be channelers. You're all that. All of you are that. You're not separate from me. We're not different. You have that potential in you to hear angels speak to you, to hear their messages, to hear them clearly. You have magic in you to heal, like Chuck was talking about, to heal yourself, to heal others. But what we want you to have with that, which is why we spend so much time like with Judah Treats and other things that we offer, is we want you to have peace in your heart. We want you to know that you're loved, to come from a place of love as much as possible. And we want you to have the wisdom to navigate the things that you see and understand and hear from angels. A last example of this is I was working with a young mother of 2 children in Okinawa this last week, and she has seen or heard psychics on the internet again saying that there was going to be a natural disaster to wipe out Japan. And this has made her terrified to live where she lives. And she wanted Judah to know, is this true? Is this going to happen? Judah can see the question behind the question. Said, do you love where you live? Yes. You love it here? Yes. You like raising your kids here? Okay. Then begin to bless where you live. Begin to bless where you live. There are people, enlightened people, that can control the weather. Now you say, well, that's crazy, Angie. Well, it's not, because I know that there are some people that do it, have done it. It can be done. Even Scripture talks about. Scripture says that Joshua stopped the sun in the sky. And it was documented that the sun did not move in the sky for 12 hours, indicating that basically he stopped the rotation of the earth. Now, is that a fairy tale or is that true? I don't know, but I do know there are people living and walking on the earth today who can change the weather. Judah is always listening for the question behind the question. Judah wants you to know the truth about yourself, your inner truth. That's a part of what channeling is for, is to wake you up to places where you've gone to sleep, wake you up to things about yourself that you need to know about yourself that your ego is blinding you to. Judah operates from truth that's rooted in reality, not in fairy tales. Judah wants to point you to what you're not aware of or can't see so that you can get more in alignment with your higher self, with what you really are. And Judah operates from a place of trust. Trust in God, trust in life, trust in the universe, trust in you, trust in your process, trust in your divinity, trust in your ability to awaken to your own journey and engage it. There are very few realities that have so much momentum behind them that they can't be shifted, but there are some. So sometimes when Judah makes a prediction, for lack of a better word, it's because the energy or the momentum behind a certain trajectory, there's so much momentum to a certain trajectory that it's highly likely that that thing is going to come to pass. But that doesn't mean that it can't be changed. So some takeaways would be, just avoiding fear-based, negative, or judgmental media, spiritual or otherwise, not judging it, right? It's okay for them to be where they are. Yeah. And so I think as we commit to this, that we can see this begin to shift and change. All right, what do you guys want to hear from Judah about?
A question came to me in regards to predictions and things shifting. Personally speaking, over the last, I would say 3 years or so, I've always had readers be so excited to tell me, you're going to meet the love of your life in this amount of time. And I was just like, oh, cool, because it wasn't me asking. But it didn't happen. And so I've had like that happen a couple of times, and now I'm like, am I shifting something that it's not happening, or are they off on the timeline? It's kind of always been a curiosity to me.
By telling you that, it can change the outcome. If you have that strong enough desire to have that happen, you're getting in the way of it happening. See, you can have anything you want. We are gods. We can create anything we want. So the universe is out there saying, you want the love of your life? It's yours. But you're saying, I want to desire to have it. See, that's different than having it. So the universe says, okay, you want to desire to have that? I'll let you desire to have it. And when you're done desiring it, you can have it. Does it make sense? You understand what I'm saying?
It does, but I'm still like a little bit unsure.
Okay, well that's one thing. That's not the only reason, but yeah. But once again, it's like if you want somebody to keep coming to you for information, aren't you going to tell them good things? And maybe you'll go back and say, when did you say that was going to happen? I don't know. I mean, I've seen a lot of frauds who do that, but the biggest thing is ask yourself. Go inside, meditate, and ask yourself, why is this not happening? Do I have an unconscious belief that it's not going to happen? Let me get rid of that unconscious belief. So when something that you want is not happening, then you have either you consciously or unconsciously don't want to have it. So if you consciously want it, then you've got to have something in your unconscious mind that's preventing you from having that. And find out what that is. Meditate on that and find out what that is and clear that up. It can be something as simple as a parent telling you when you were 6 years old, nobody's ever going to love you. You know, they got mad at you or something, and they said something stupid like that to when you're 5. Well, when you're 5, it's like, oh, my father, who's God, told me that, so it must be true. So this is, one of the things that happens to us. Most of us are programmed by the age of 7. The Mormons say, give me a kid till he's 7 years old and he'll be a Mormon for the rest of his life because he's programmed for that. So the thing is, rather than asking, ask yourself, go inside yourself. The answers are all there. Sometimes we don't want to hear them, but meditate on it, keep asking and asking. And I have never found that the answer didn't come to me eventually, okay? Now sometimes, it's like, oh, it didn't come in 3 or 4 days, so that didn't work, And so the other thing, I don't know why I want to tell you this, but you can program dreams to give you information. You can program a dream. So if you remember your dreams, that's fine. If not, then start the program. I want to remember my dreams. I want to remember my dreams. And then program a dream. I want a dream that I understand, I remember and understand as to why this is not happening for me. Okay. So this is the craziest thing. I don't know if that came from education or what, but this is a true story. So one time I got this new car, probably maybe the first new car, an Audi that I'd gotten because I have a mountain house and I needed all-wheel drive. So anyways, the first time I had this remote thing and it had open the trunk on it, and it didn't work. And I thought, I'm doing something wrong because an Audi, there's no way that's not working. So I programmed a dream. Please tell me, what it is, why this is not working. And so I had this dream that I drove to a restaurant and there was a valet guy there. And I got out of the car and handed him the thing. And he said, do you want to use the valet to lock things up? The valet lock. And I said, what's that? And he said, oh, well, there's a switch inside your glove box that if you switch it, then the trunk won't open up. And so the next morning I ran out of my car, opened up the thing, there was a button in there, I pushed it, and then the thing worked fine.
Good.
So that's one way of getting information, is by programming dreams. Mm-hmm. Meditation, of course, is too. And so, and if you do ask, and a lot of times you'll get the false information, but when you get the true information, you will know that that's the truth. You will have some kind of emotional response to it. And you will know, okay, that's it. Yeah. Okay, now what do I need to do to change that?
And I don't feel like that most channelers or psychics or readers set out to be fraudulent. Yeah. I think they sense the possibilities for you, and they're sharing those possibilities, and then things can change. Their energies are always changing. Who knows, this person, whoever they might be, maybe they are encountering other energies or circumstances that diverted them or whatever. So there's a lot of, the broader picture is we all have our own intentions and motivations, and those interact, and some they mesh and they don't, and energies are always moving and changing. And that's why giving predictions are tricky. But in my experience, when Judah's sharing something about the future, their desire is to give you hope for the possibilities. Not to say, this is set in stone, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen at this time and all that. They're basically just opening you up to the possibility. Let's actually let Judah talk about that. Well, dear, the main thing we want to say to you is you are the love of your life. You are the love of your life. You are love. You exude love. You are full of love. You have so much love to give. Let this love that is in you continue to allow it to splish and splash and soak into and around others all around you. And this is the main thing we want to say to you, my dear, is that no one has anything to add to you. You are perfection itself. You are love. No one can add anything to that. Now, there can be a joy and a sharing and a communion of consciousness with another beautiful being to come into your life. We will say there are many, 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 many persons who would be a good partner for you. And we would say most anyone that you welcomed into your life will be blessed by knowing you and having you as a part of their life. So the choice is really for you to choose the one you want. You see, even we want to address here a cultural belief system. We want to address a cultural lie here that has influenced you and everyone in this room to some degree, and that is this, that this one person who is to be the love of my life must come and seek me out and find me. But love is not a game of hide and seek. Simply love everybody you're coming in contact with you. And when you see the one that you want to be with, then simply set the intention, I'm going to be with this one, and then make it happen. Take action. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Simply take action when you feel compelled to take action. And if that one that you feel that you want to share your love with declines or whatever may come of it, don't worry at all. It means nothing about you. It has nothing to do with you. It simply means that the love that you have is not meant exclusively for them. It's meant for others. So there is a cultural belief system that's very strong that love is exclusive, and there must be one special one that I love, and I won't be fulfilled or happy or joyful until I find that one. Well, we will tell you that this is a belief system that causes you to suffer, causes many, many, many people to suffer because they're still waiting for this one exclusive person who will hold them in the highest of regard. Well, what we're here to tell you is hold yourself in the highest regard. Love yourself. Fall in love with yourself. Date yourself. Listen to love songs and dance with yourself. Dress yourself up to go out on a date with yourself. Love yourself, love yourself, love yourself, love yourself. There are some of you here, even in the room, who are still looking for your purpose on the earth. Why am I here, you ask? This is the most common question that we are asked. What is my purpose here? Well, some of you have many external works to do, such as this vessel is building this external work called the Judah family. But we want to tell you that the most important thing for her and for some of you here to do in this lifetime is to learn to love yourself. That is all. And love is never outside of you. There are loving persons that you can encounter and commune with. But the love that you need and want the most is in you. It is within you. No one can give it to you and suddenly make you complete. This is a terrible fallacy and untruth that is reiterated and reinforced constantly in the culture and in media, that there is someone missing, and when this missing person comes, you will finally be okay, you will finally be loved. So for you, my dear, we would say there are many persons, even in this city, that would make beautiful and loving partnerships with you. There are many people in this city, even tonight, who would love you completely, unconditionally, accept you as you are, and fully enjoy and embrace every aspect of who you are and how you are, and would make for a beautiful partnership and life together. So really, the choice is going to be yours. As you continue on loving yourself, being your beautiful self that you are, and then let the attraction, the magnetism do its work. Let it do its work. You see, there are reasons why all of you are here tonight rather than at the bar, on the corner, or at the restaurant, or in any other place that you could be on the world, in the planet, on the world tonight. There's a reason why you're here, because of attraction, you see? And so begin to trust this attraction, trust in it, that you are being attracted to what and who you need and where and when and why and how, and all of this is happening by attraction. Now, this gentleman also spoke to unconscious beliefs inside. Anytime there is something that you want, be it a partner, wanting to fall in love, wanting to open a new business, wanting to complete a work in the world. Anytime there is something that you want, you have consciously focused your time, energy, and attention on manifesting that thing, and it is not happening for you in short order, it is because, as he has said here, there is an unconscious belief that's likely forgotten and buried that is prohibiting it. Yes? If you have an unconscious belief, perhaps even an imprint on the soul from other lifetimes that some of you even have had a past life experience in which you were in a quote-unquote romantic relationship that was hell. It was torturous. You suffered and suffered and suffered in a terrible relationship. And so there is a vow deep on the soul level, I want to be alone. I don't want to be in a relationship anymore. I want to be alone. You must break your agreement, your inner internal agreement with that statement that you made in order to attract what you consciously want. The subconscious is driving so many things for you. It's beating your heart. It's pumping the blood through your body. It's renewing cells. It is creating new skin. It is blinking your eyes. It is breathing your lungs. It's moving your hands and your feet and scratching your face. It's doing all of these things without you even thinking, but it's doing oh so much more. Oh, so much more. If you have a deeply seated subconscious belief, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve it, I don't deserve good things, these things imprinted upon you, they will subvert what you want. And now this vessel, of course, knows how to help you clear those things. And it's not that she wants to be the keeper of some cosmic secret or secret to your happiness. She is willing to share this for those who are serious and want to learn. And you can master your subconscious mind by giving it the proper instruction. We will give you an example. Many of you as children learn to ride a bike, or as teenagers or young adults, you learn to drive a car. So you know how to do these things. You do them subconsciously. When you get in the car tonight to drive yourself home, you don't have to think about how to drive the car. You do it. It is powered. That information is powered through your subconscious. So just as you've learned to ride a bike or drive a car, you can also learn how to instruct your subconscious mind to alleviate your suffering and eliminate belief systems, emotional pain, trauma, all of those things. Your subconscious mind, your superconscious, can learn to master and fix these things for you. And it is the desire of us and of this vessel that you learn this type of mastery over your thought life, your emotions, your physical state.
So my question is not specifically to you, just to everybody, including me, is can you truly love somebody else if you don't love yourself?
And the other truth is that it's very likely that almost all of us have never truly experienced unconditional love from another person. That's also the truth. So that means that we, and this is where Judah is invaluable, because they love you perfectly, flawlessly. And we can learn from them what love actually feels like.
And there's a saying, if you want more love, give more love.
Mm-hmm.
It'll come back to you.
Any other questions for Judah? Yeah.
So you talked about reincarnation. My question is, do we always come back as a female, male, human? Do we come back as other entities? And are we always coming back to Earth?
I believe that, go ahead, do you want to answer that, sweetie?
Well, no, one of the way I see it is we've come here to experience things, okay? We're a piece of God, and God wants to experience all different things. And that's why we each have a different perspective. God wants to collect all the different perspectives there is. So somebody may reincarnate as a man 3 or 4 times and say, okay, I've got that down now let me try a female. And what tends to happen is, what can happen to us is, there's like a saying for old soul or new soul, and there's no judgment about an old soul or a new soul or anybody being any better than anybody else. We're all equal, we're all the same. There's no judgments about anything. But an old soul tends to be somebody that's been here and reincarnated, and they've killed somebody and they've been killed. They've been a man, they've been a woman. They've done everything there is to do, and it's like, okay, I've played this game, this earth game here. I'd like to move on to the 5th dimension and play the game where you don't have a physical body or whatever. And then the new souls are the ones that tend to be here, and they're still trying to figure out about money and about relationships. And once again, there's no difference. We're all climbing the same mountain, and we will all get to the top. Some of us are just going the slow way, and some of us are going the straight way. There is no difference between them. There's no hurry.
I think it's highly likely that most people that are connected to a work like ours have incarnated in many other places, other planetary systems.
Yeah, you try other planets. And the other thing is, we do tend, because of karma, which karma is kind of a weird thing, to incarnate around the same souls a lot. And so a lot.
Hello, beloved. Angie Hipple here from the Judah channel. Have you ever made this mistake that I'm embarrassed to say I've made on more than one occasion? The new year rolls around and I have this sinking feeling, I did it again. There's a mountain of debt from all the holiday excitement for meaningless things that somehow in the moment you thought were going to make you and your friends and family feel more loved, more treasured, perhaps feeling that it would add something to your joy. Perhaps the new year brought a sense of emptiness and loneliness, even though you've just spent some precious time with friends and family. Or maybe there was this gnawing sense of dissatisfaction and emptiness from all the meaningless stuff that you gave and exchanged as gifts. I remember as a young mom, before the holidays, I would clean out my kids' toy chest, which was brimming over with stuff, to make room for all the new stuff that I was getting ready to purchase for them for Christmas. And guess what was in the toy box? All the stuff that I bought the year before that they played with for a day or 2 or a couple of weeks, and then they threw it in the toy chest and never played with it again. Insanity, right? Well, this year, let's do something different, both you and I together. Let's stop wasting our time, energy, attention, and money on meaningless things that don't really add to who we are and don't really add the true joy, the soul joy of our loved ones. Let's stop this crazy, mad cycle. Let's do something different. Are you sick of making meaningless New Year's promises to yourself? Are you tired of acquiescing the true you to people, places, things, holiday traditions that really don't add to your soul? Are you ready to take back your power and be your truest, youest self in the new year? Are you ready to make 2025 your year for complete, total transformation? On the inside, Judah teaches us that in any moment we can reinvent ourselves, we can reinvent our life. We can ask angels to clear away what's not working for us, what's meaningless, what's weighing us down. The things that when we get to the other side of eternity and we look back, the things that we will know really didn't matter. Angels are constantly present to lift us up into our destiny, to clear away what we're not so we can be who we really are. And you might say, Angie, I don't even have any clue about who I really am or what I could really be. Well, we're offering you a journey to discover the true you, to be it, to become it, to experience your divinity, the fullness of all the beauty that you are. we're going to come together and you and I, we're going to train your subconscious mind how to heal yourself from all the stuff that's holding you back. And we're going to uncover the beauty of the true you. You have the potential, the possibility to be completely connected to your higher self and your angel guides this year in 2025. And Judah and I are here to help you. There is no karma, there is no circumstance, there is no false belief system, and there's no disease that can hold you back, that can prevent you from becoming the true you if you decide and you commit. Let's make this holiday season different. Make it different by investing in you, not in the superficial little ego self, not in what your mind tells you that you are, but the real you, your divine, perfect, angelically connected and supported self. Today's the day. Take back your time. Take back your energy. Take back your attention. Take back your dollars from things that are keeping you small. This is your time. This is the year for you to expand. Invest in what's going to lift and expand your soul. Join us for the Journey of the True You Accelerator course. 12 weeks beginning in January. In the Journey of the True You, you are going to have lifetime access to this seminal course, the core of everything we do in the Judah channel. The True You Accelerator course is our seminal course. This course takes you from where you are in your awakening and enlightenment journey all the way through to enlightenment. It calibrates very high on the Hawkins map between 550 and 850. I have yet to speak to anyone who has taken this course that hasn't begun a vital, transformative relationship with their own personal team of angels and guides. The folks who take this course begin channeling, and the messages that they receive are amazing. I mean, really, you guys are going to put me out of business. It's great. You're going to have lifetime access to the True You Accelerator course. You will have access to Judah treats for the entire duration of the course. You'll also receive 12 two-hour live classes a week where Judah and I are going to mentor you, answer your questions, help you through your own personal journey, your challenges or stuck places. And you'll get to meet beautiful friends that are high vibe, high flying, just like you all around the world. You're going to make lifetime friends in this course. You'll receive a digital copy of the first book of Judah, the answer to all your questions. And there's going to be other surprises along the way. Any reasonable pay plan will be accepted. We really want you to be a part. Think about it. Meditate on it. Follow your heart. If it's a no, great. If it's a yes, great. And we hope you'll feel a big inner yes to joining us for the Journey of the True You. I can't wait to see the truest you on the other side of this course.